warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allow us to introduce ourselves. We are from Group 5, want to present our project. The topic is about manner of articulation. Hope you guys enjoy our video.
There are many ways to make the air flow through your oral passage. For example, you can squeeze the back of your tongue against your volume to block the airflow, or you can lightly touch that same place and let some air pass through. Although both of these motions occur at the same place, they make different sounds because of the manner of articulation. This is part of the reason it is possible to have so many distinct consonant sounds at the same place of articulation. The manner of articulation is the way the air stream is affected as it flows from the lungs and out the nose and mouth. In articulatory phonetics, the manner of articulation is the configurations and interactions of the articulators, speech organs such as the tongue, lips, and palate, when making a speech sound. One parameter of manner is structure, that is how closely the speech organs approach one another. In this part, we have quick navigation the topic we want to discuss about. First one is nasal. Second one is stops. Third is fricative, also auricate. In addition, approximant, and the last one is lateral. We have now identified 8 places of articulation: glottal, bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, palato-alveolar, palatal, and velar. For any given sound, we will say whether it is voiced or voiceless, and what its place of articulation is. But to distinguish between the full range of speech sounds, we will require a third descriptive parameter. It is manner of articulation. To identify the manner in which a sound is articulated, we will identify 3 different degrees of constriction: complete closure, close approximation, and open approximation, and thus 3 driven categories of consonant: stops, fricative, and approximants. The first one we have stops. The articulators in cation may form a structure of complete closure. This is what happens when one produces the first sound in P. Here, the lower and upper lips completely block the flow of air from the lungs. That closure may then be released, as it is in pit, and may then produce a sudden outflow of air. Sounds which are produced with complete closure are referred to as stops or plosives. We may describe the first sound in pit as a voiceless bilabial stop, transcribed as b, b. And we will henceforth identify all consonants with 3 term labels of this sort. Consonant in a bay is also a bilabial stop, but differs from that in pit. It is voiced. This consonant, transcribed as b, is a voiced bilabial stop. The first sound in thin is a voiceless alveolar stop. It is transcribed as th. Its voiced counterpart is the consonant in ado. This sound, the voiced alveolar stop, is transcribed as d. The first sound in cool is a voiceless filler stop. It is transcribed as g. Its voiced counterpart, the voiced filler stop, is described as g. An example is the consonant in go. We have now identified bilabial, alveolar, and velar stops. Stops may be met at many other places of articulation, but we will ignore those, as they are not relevant to the study of English. There is one further stop which we must mention. However, as it is very common in speech of most speakers of English, this is the glottal stop, transcribed as It is made by forming a constriction of complete closure between the vocal folds. This is the sound made instead of th. In many Scottish and Cockney pronunciations of, for example, the word butter, we will see that is present in the speech of almost every speaker of English, no matter what accent. There is no question of describing the glottal stop as voiced or voiceless, since it is articulated in the glottis itself. For stops, the airflow is not redirected through the nose. Instead, the air quickly builds up pressure behind the articulators and then released in the burst. English contains the following stop consonants: burst and rap. Oral passage is blocked by closing the lips, bilabial. The second one is b, back, and cap. Oral passage is blocked by closing the lips, bilabial. The third one is th. For tab, and rat. Oral passage is blocked by pressing the tongue tip against the alveolar ridge. alveolar. The next one is D. D. For the words dip, dip, and bad, bad. Oral passage is blocked by pressing the tongue tip against the alveolar ridge. Alveolar. Also, we have K. K. For the words kite, kite, and back, back. Block airflow with the back of the tongue against the soft palate. Feller. The last one we have G. G. For the words good, good, and bug, bug. Block airflow with the back of the tongue against the soft palate. Velar. The second one we have fricative. Let us now distinguish between complete closure and another, less extreme degree of constrictions. It is close approximation. Sounds which are produced with this kind of constriction entail a bringing together of the two articulators to the point where the airflow is not quite fully blocked. Enough of a gap remains for air to escape, but the articulators are so close together that friction is created as the air escapes. Sounds of this sort are referred to as fricatives. The first sound in fin is created by bringing the lower lip close to the upper teeth in a constriction of close approximation. This sound is a voiceless labiodental fricative, described as f, f. It is voiced counterpart. The voiced labiodental fricative, described as v, v, is a consonant in eva, eva. The first sound in then is created by bringing the tip of the tongue into a constriction of close approximation with the upper teeth. This sound is a voiceless dental fricative, described as s, s. Its voice counterpart, the voiced dental fricative, described as z, z, is, for some speakers, the first sound in the word that. The first sound in sin is created by bringing the tip or blade of the tongue into a constriction of close approximations with the alveolar ridge. This sound, described as s, s, is a voiceless alveolar fricative. Its voice counterpart, The voiced alveolar fricative, transcribed as z, z, is the consonant in zoo, zoo. The first sound in ship is created by bringing the blade of the tongue into constrictions of close approximations with the palatoalveolar region. This sound, described as sh, is a voiceless palatoalveolar fricative. It is voice counterpart, described as sh. Is the second consonant is seizure, seizure. Fricatives may be articulated at any point of articulation, but many of those sounds are irrelevant to the study of English. However, we will mention three. One is the voiceless filler fricative, ax, found in the speech of many Scots, in words such as loch. Another is the voiceless fricative, w, again found in the speech of many Scots, as in words like wall, as opposite to well, and which, as opposite to which. Its place of articulation is labial velar. A third is the glottal fricative, as in the first sound in hit, hit. This sound is produced by bringing the vocal cords into constrictions of close approximation, so that friction is produced. As the vocal cords are not vibrating, we will take it that this is a voiceless sound.
Fricative sounds involve only a partial blockage of the vocal tract, so that air has to be forced through a narrow channel. For example, you crack a stop consonant when you block airflow completely with your tongue against the alveolar ridge. But if you let up with the tongue a bit and let the air seep through, you make an fricative consonant. The English fricative sounds are as follows: fro and cough. Cough. Air is forced through the upper teeth and lower lip, the biodental. Second one is fine, vine, and have. Air is forced through the upper teeth and lower lip, the biodental. And the third one is thick, and pat. Air is forced through upper teeth and tongue, dental. And the next one is do, and rather.
R is for throat, upper teeth, and tongue, dental. And the next one is sweet and buzz. Buzz. R is for throat, tongue, and alveolar ridge. Alveolar. The next one is zit. Zit and jazz. Jazz. R is for throat, tongue, and alveolar ridge. Alveolar. And the next one is shot. Shot and brush. Brush. R is for through the tongue and point just beyond alveolar ridge. Post alveolar. The next one is vision and measure. R is for through the tongue and point just beyond alveolar ridge. Post alveolar. The last one is happy, happy, and hope. Hope. Actually, is not a fricative. It is technically not even a real consonant sound since there is no constriction or obstruction of airflow. And the next part is approximants. The least radical degree of constriction occurs when the articulators come fairly close together, but not sufficiently close together to create friction. This kind of structure is called open approximation. Consonants produced in this way are called approximants. The first sound in yes is an approximant. It is produced by bringing the front of the tongue close to the hard palate. Although the sides of the tongue are in a constriction of complete closure with the upper gums, the air escapes along a central groove in which the front of the tongue is not close enough to the hard palate to create friction. This sound, transcribed as ch, ch, is a voice palatal approximant. Approximants are normally voiced, so we will not discuss any voiceless counterpart for these sounds. The first sound in many English speakers' pronunciation of rip, rope, rat, and etc. It's an approximant. It is produced by bringing the blade of the tongue into a constriction of open approximation with the alveolar ridge. This approximant, transcribed as is referred to as an alveolar approximant. As with ch, ch, the sides of the tongue form a constriction of complete closure with the gums at the side of the mouth, but the air escapes along a central groove without creating friction. For most speakers, and in varying degrees depending on the accent, the tongue body is somewhat retracted when is uttered. It is therefore often referred to as a post-alveolar approximant, but alveolar approximant will suffice for our purpose. For the moment, let us identify one further such sound, the sound at the beginning of word. In producing this sound, the lips form a constriction of open approximation. There is no friction produced, but its articulation is more complicated than that of the palatal approximant, since it also involves another articulation between the back of the tongue and the velum, i.e. velar articulation. We will therefore refer to it as a voice labial velar approximant. It is transcribed as Approximants are when two articulators come close together but not quite close enough to create air turbulence. The resulting sound is more like a fast vowel than anything else. For example, the approximant is like a fast U sound. Say U plus AI really fast and you get the word Y. Notice how your tongue never actually comes in contact with the top of your mouth. There are three English approximants, and the first one is wet, and Howard. Back of tongue raises to velum, but not too close, and lips are rounded velar. The second one is yes, and beyo. Tongue raises to hard palate, but not too close, palatal. And the last one is right, and roar. Tongue raises to hard palate, but not too close, alveolar or post-alveolar. And the next part is nasal. Nasal consonants are phonemes that are realized through the help of the nasal cavity. Different from nasalized consonant, nasal consonant can be identified as constrained consonant, which are articulated by the instruction of relaxing the back of the mouth and tongue and allowing airflow from the lungs to flow through the nasal cavity. Nasal consonants are created when you completely block airflow through your mouth and let the air pass through your nose. There are three nasal consonants in English. The first one is med, and clam. Oral passage is blocked by closing the lips, bilabial. And the second one is no, and man. Oral passage is blocked by pressing tongue tip against the alveolar ridge, alveolar. And the last one is going, and fang. Oral passage is blocked by pressing the back of your tongue against the soft palate, velar. The next part is affricate. Affricate, also called semi-plosive, a consonant sound that begins as a stop. Sound with complete obstruction of the breath stream and concludes with a fricative. Sound with incomplete closure and a sound of friction. When stop consonant mix with fricative consonant, the result is an affricative consonant. Affricative consonants start a stop sound with air building up behind an articulator, which then release through a narrow channel as a fricative, instead of a clean burst as stops do. The English affricate sounds are ch, ch, chick, chick, and match, match. Air is blocked with tongue just beyond the alveolar ridge, post-alveolar, then released as a fricative. And the second one is ch, ch, jam, jam, and beige, beige. Air is blocked with tongue just beyond the alveolar ridge, post-alveolar, then release as a fricative. And the last part is lateral. Lateral consonants are when the tongue blocks the middle of your mouth so that air has to pass around the sides. There is one lateral consonant in English. L, l, luck, luck. Place the tip of the tongue at the alveolar ridge, alveolar.